Yeah, so what I would do to keep track of what you're doing in this project is I would set aside at least one page for each step in the design process so that you can explain what you did during that step of the design process. Now, of course, in this project, there are some parts that you're not going to do so much of. For example, you're not going to really be putting together an engineering team. But I still would like you to maybe write a paragraph or two explaining what types of engineers you might bring in if you were going to bring in engineers for this project. Yeah, and each one of these, you should just, the reason I say set aside a page is because it makes it much cleaner and much easier to deal with both on your end and on my end if everything has its own page. It's kind of like its own chapter, right? It separates all the different sections of the process. So every step of the engineering design process, which was on page, I don't remember which page it was on, 20 or something, each one of those steps should have its own kind of section in for lack of a better word, your project journal or project logbook. And each of these pages should have an explanation of what you did to fulfill that part of the design process during this project. And it should include images and some explanations and maybe some data tables, or whatever. All right? Should include design drawings are a good thing to put in there as well, because those need to be included. Some of these things will be more than one page. You're going to have at least three designs to choose from as you look at different ways to build a car that goes very slow. And all three of those designs that you're choosing from should be in that evaluation analysis section as you're looking at possible designs. And then you should have a final design that you are going to build, and so on, just like we did with the bridge. It'll be a very similar process, just a new project. They should be as much detail as that you can do without taking too much time. Should be a reasonable detail, enough detail that we know what the design is and what it entails. We don't need to know exactly what parts you're going to use and exactly dimensions and everything else. Those are for the detailed design later in the project on your final design. Your final design should have all of the detail in it, but your preliminary designs do not necessarily need to have quite that much detail. They can be kind of a nice stick drawing with explanations of things so that we know what kind of design it is, we know what's powering it, we know what it's using pulleys or it's using gears or it's using whatever. And we have a good overview of how it's going to work. And then the final design should have all the details in it. Absolutely, this is engineering. Aesthetics are always important. We do want it to look pretty cool as we can make it look. When it comes to engineering, usually you don't go out of your way to change things just so it looks nice, because that is usually not the primary objective. But you also don't want to design anything that is ugly that could look nicer if you just tweak some things around a little bit. So yeah, I don't think you need to build a cover for it and to cover up anything or anything else. But I think that if you're going to have pulleys in it, for example, you should arrange the pulleys in a way that looks nice, not just haphazard wherever they can go and twisting and turning all over the place and standing 3 feet above the car. And, it's a matter of balancing functionality with aesthetics. You want to make it function as well as possible without it looking bad, making it look as good as possible. So. I don't think we'll have any problems with safety since it's supposed to be a slow-moving car. I don't think we'll have any troubles with that. All the materials that you can use out of your kit kind of restricts you to a pretty safe car anyway, so. Yeah, you can definitely use the dowels for that. If you want the dowels to rotate inside of something, if you want them to spin inside of some of the plastic parts, you might have to remount one of the parts. Like I think I included a little tool with a red handle in your kit, and it will allow you to kind of hollow out or remount the holes in some of the plastic parts so that the dowels will spin freely instead of just being locked up in there. So, yeah. And you can remount the holes in the plastic bars, the plastic sticks, and in anything really to allow the dowels to spin freely. So you can either have them stuck in there and not spin, or you can have them spin freely. Okay, so the actual slow moving car race test thing. Okay, so the way that I usually do the test is I will mark out a 2-meter diameter circle on the floor. So 1 meter, it's 1 meter in radius, using usually tape or string or something like this. And then I will put the car so that it's just inside the circle, pointing whatever direction you want it to point, whatever direction you think will work best for your car. And then I release the car and watch it roll. I release the car and start a stopwatch at the same time so I can time it. And then, as the car is moving, if it stops at any time for more than like a second, then I stop the stopwatch. If it leaves the circle, I stop the stopwatch. And it has to completely leave the circle. So if just one wheel leaves and then it comes back in, that doesn't count. When it completely leaves the circle, then I stop the stopwatch. And also, let's see, what else? I guess that's it. So if it leaves the circle, or if it stops moving, if it stops any kind of forward motion, then I stop the stopwatch. And absolutely. You can point the car in any direction that you want to start it off, but once you release it, then you just let it go. Now, I do give each car 3 trials, and in between each trials, if something needs to be done to the car, that is fine, as long as you don't change the actual design of the car. If it needs to be wound back up, or if it needs to be repaired or something like that, that's fine. But if you change the design between runs, that's not kosher. And of course, I would like that test to be. I would like a videotape of that test, of those all 3 of those tests actually, and then a image of your watch at the end of the video. Just point your video camera at your watch to show me times. I think the record in this class is something like 4 seconds or something. 4 or 5 seconds maybe. I can't remember if it was that long or not. But it actually is not, it doesn't take long usually for a slow car to run out of juice. And so it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. Anything else? Okay. Well then, you have the remainder of the time to continue working on this project. Make sure that you're keeping good notes and recording things in your journal and your logbook. And if you do have any other questions, please send me emails and I will answer them. Have a good one.